devices in the market. Before we start, let me just start with some entertainment movie as well, because I've heard that this is what we have to do today. So, movie.
What's the movie?
Supply chains are becoming increasingly complex. While globalization is enabling economies of scale, in practice, this is leading to intricate networks of suppliers and resources. To gain competitive advantage, companies require business intelligence into the entire supply chain. GfK Supply Chain Management Insights gives you a uniquely comprehensive view from start to end. By combining distribution and point of sales information with sales forecasts and product specifications, you can identify and improve efficiencies, enhance resource and time management, strengthen relationships with suppliers, and make sense of supply and demand. Our solution consists of 4 elements. GfK Distribution provides stock data from more than 100 distributors, enabling you to streamline order management and optimize logistics. Reduce sales forecasts of products, meaning you can align product availability with expected demand. And finally, GfK Product Catalogs offers the world's most comprehensive specifications and features of products, ensuring you save time by having accurate information from one reliable source. Taking advantage of the best insights, you can use the supply chain as a differentiating asset to maximize your business profitability.
After you've seen what GfK can do, all the broad range of products we have, I would like to start, as I said before, with the variables part, and that's not my presentation, so I should take the other one. With the variables, question is it a gadget only, or is it going to be a disruptive innovation which is impacting the complete technology market? You're familiar, of course, with the digital connected ecosystem we are having in our households today. So we're having not only one technical device, we're having a wide range of it, starting at a computer, some kind of e-reader, some kind of camera, some kind of central storage, everything. All of them are talking to each other. You as a client, you as a customer, you as a person, you're using all these devices all together, and the person, the human being, is in the middle of this digital connected ecosystem. And now we have actually 2 new devices coming in. That would be the smartwatch and that would be the fitness tracker, which have entered the market and which are the new thing, the greatest buzzword at the moment. It's a great buzz. It's everywhere in the media. To give you an indication about the market size, this is called Europe, EU3, Germany, France, Great Britain, and you have the actual sales out for these 3 European countries. You see here the big column in the middle, that would be December 14. In December 14, 403,000 variables were sold. Of these 400,000, we are talking about nearly 70% fitness trackers and then 16% smartwatches. And you can also see that this is a strong seasonality. So December has been very good, very strong Christmas sales, and now the market is decreasing again and it's leveling at about 194 units. What is a smartwatch in comparison to a fitness tracker? So that we are clear about GfK's terminology, a smartwatch is a watch, of course, but it has some functionalities going more in the direction of a smartphone. So the smartwatch can do more than timekeeping. You can use it for passing phone calls. We have some basic apps, maybe also some speaker function or GPS navigation function. On the other hand, the activity tracker, the fitness tracker, this is a device for monitoring and tracking your fitness. For example, how many steps did you walk today, which distance did you cover, or how many calories did you burn when doing that. This is something you've seen before, so how is GfK expecting the markets to grow in future? So this is a worldwide slide. Before we had EU3 only, now this is worldwide. And 2014 worldwide, we're talking about 31 million units sold. For 2015, we're expecting to be sold about 72 million units, and in 2016, 114 million worldwide. In 2014, the health and fitness tracker was making up the majority of the market. This should be changing. In 2015, we are expecting that smartwatch and fitness tracker will nearly have the same size in terms of sales units. And then for 2016, GfK is expecting that the smartwatch will be the biggest market in terms of wearables, and health and fitness trackers will be number 2 with 38 million units. And then we also have wearable cameras like the GoPro Action Cam. We will have smart glasses and we will have wearable headsets, but these markets are a lot smaller compared to fitness trackers and also smartwatches. What is the top sellers today? I hope you can see it in the end, because maybe it's a little bit small, but this is the top 10 hit list of all these wearables sold in Germany in April 15. So Germany is one example. And this hit list, these top 10 models are dominated by fitness trackers today. So we see 2 smartwatches only. Number 3 is the Samsung Gear Fit, and number 8 is a model by Garmin. Apple Watch is not yet in. We'll see, of course, how the Apple Watch is going to influence the market. Yesterday was the Apple keynote, if it's picking up or not, but this is not yet in here in the data. If we're looking on the right side, we can track all the different features these top models do have. We're tracking here mobile connection. Yeah, of course, all of them are connected to the internet. We have GPS hardware. So far of the top 10 models, only one device does have some GPS connection. All the others do not. We have sleeping tracking, like how are you sleeping, is it very good, very bad, whatever. About 50% do track your sleeping activities, and then we have the heart rate sensor, also about 50% do track your heart rate, the other 50% do not. And so at the moment, the market is rather diversified. We do not have a set of feature which is coming up for all the devices, but every vendor, every device is focusing on some special functions. We did at GfK a study, a survey here on consumer level, and asked them a lot of questions about the wearables, how they would like to see the market, how they would like to buy, what they would like to buy, so what is the focus they are seeing for these wearables. And the first question, of course, this is for smartwatches, is which brand would you like to buy? So if you buy wearables, if you're planning to buy some kind of wearables, some kind of smartwatch, what brand are you focusing on? We have 5 countries: USA, Germany, South Korea, China, and Great Britain. And on the left side, you have the aggregation of all 5 countries together. And if we take all 5 countries together, 20% of the consumers would like to buy an Apple Watch. 31% of the consumers would like to buy a watch by Samsung. Then we have in red the sportswear brands. Only 18% of the consumers would like to have a smartwatch which is being done by a sports brand. And then 13% would like to see a smartwatch which is done by another technology brand, like for example LG, Sony, Asus, Acer, whatever. So Samsung and Apple are dominating that market at the moment. We look, for example, like in a little bit deeper in South Korea. South Korea is totally dominated by Samsung, while the USA and also the UK, they are more focused on Apple products, which is also the same for other product categories. So this is what consumers would be wishing for. What is the reality today? This is again an example from Germany, and you have the smartwatches and the top brands for smartwatches in April 15. And the number 1 brand at the moment is Samsung with 24%. Then we have Sony with 12%, LG is getting 14%, and Motorola is getting 50%. So these, let's say, tech brands, they are making up 65% of the market in Germany today. The other part is Garmin, 23%, so more an outdoor brand, more sportswear brand. And then also down here we have Pebble with 8%, Kickstarter project, which is very successful. Pebble was able to increase their market share from 4% to 8% in the last 4 months. So this is how the market is looking like today. Apple, as I said, is still missing. We'll see how it's impacting the market then. What are the fitness trackers. If you're talking about these fitness activity trackers, what brands would consumers expect here? Number one, 52% of all consumers would like to have a famous tech brand. Famous tech brand is something like Apple, Samsung, LG, whatever. 11% would like to see another tech brand, which is more specialized on these kind of fitness products. Example for that would be Jawbone or Fitbit. Then we have the sportswear brands. They are making up 28%, and the luxury brands, which are not very successful for the fitness tracker segment. And if we again dive deep into the country, then China and South Korea, they are very much focused on famous tech brands. Here consumers would prefer these famous tech brands, while for example the USA, here the request for sportswear brands is rather high compared to the other countries. Which brands are successful today? Again, it's the example of Germany, and we have as number one in this light blue Fitbit with 26% of the market share. We have number two, this is Polar with 18%, and we have Jawbone with 15%. So these are the top three. So far, no famous tech brand in. And then we have a lot of smaller brands down here. So this market is much more fragmented, it's much more segmented compared to the smartwatches. Just to give you one indication about the channel, so where do consumers buy their activity tracker today? Where do they buy their smartwatch today? And both devices are dominated by mass merchandisers. Mass merchandise would be on the online side, for example, Amazon. And they are dominated by consumer electronic stores. That would be, for example, EMEA, Saturn, Europe. So these are the channels which are successful today. Other more specialist channel, also the telecom channel, for example, is at the moment having a smaller share. So it's really about these big generalists where consumers are asking for the smartwatches. And we've seen that before also, that this is also a great opportunity to get the consumers into your store, into your mass merchandise store, or whatever you have, to come to look at these new devices and then hopefully go out and buy a new coffee machine as well. If we are asking consumers how would you like to control your smartwatch, number one is touchscreen. So 67%, 2/3 of the market want to control their smartwatch via touch. Only 24% want to control it by voice, and buttons it's only 8%. Yeah, the voice control is, the acceptance for voice control is a little bit bigger in China, for example, and Germans don't want to have voice control. We've noticed before that there were a lot of jokes about Germans today, so I'm going on with it, and I can't do it because I am one. And so, because if I think I'm walking through the cities like this, I would feel so embarrassed. And so I think this is why we prefer touchscreen. Today, the smartwatch is seen as a companion. It's a companion for your smartphone, and it doesn't, or usually doesn't have some SIM card in. If you're asking the consumers, would you like to have your smartwatch to have a SIM card inside, then 56% of all people are saying yes, that would be great. In China, even 84% are saying yes. And if we split this up, not only by country, but also by, let's say, consumer group, tech-friendlies, techies versus normal persons, then these techies, also 65%, so a higher percentage of techies would like to see a SIM card in their smartwatch. And so this is an indication that people would like to have their smartwatch as a more self-sufficient device, as a more standalone device, and not so much as a companion device as it is today. What are the most important functions in a smartwatch? So if you buy a smartwatch, what is the number one function you want to see in your watch? And number one, 29% of all people listed as number one is activity tracking. Number two, 13% say answer phone calls, and now comes my favorite, 11% say time telling. That's great. So if we summarize that, then you see that smartwatches aren't considered as very smart today. They are some kind of fitness tracker, and they are some kind of fitness trackers which are able to tell you what time is it. And so there's today the question, is there really a USP, is there really a unique selling proposition for your smartwatch? And what is it? So why should the consumer go and buy a smartwatch and not only a fitness tracker? And so there are some ideas maybe for the future, what consumers would like to see within their smartwatch, so what additional functions they would like to have, which are not existing today. And one of them would be, the smartwatch would be a great device for controlling your other devices. So control your TV. 46% of all people would like to control their TV with the watch. 39% would like to control their audio home system. 39% would like to control their computer. So this could be some additional usage scenario for your watch, which is maybe helping the smartwatch to get more successful when you get more accepted in the market. Again, if you're buying a smartwatch as a consumer, what are the most important purchase influences? So why are you going for one smartwatch and maybe not the other one? And the most important one is the price. 21% say price is influencing their purchase decision. Then 14% say it's for functionality, and 13% say it's about being an activity tracker. If we go into the different countries and compare that, then price is number one purchase influencer in the USA, in UK, in Germany, in South Korea. The only exception being China, and for Chinese consumers, the most important influencer is accuracy. So they are very concerned that your watch is measuring what's really right, what's really there. And then the other ones, functionality activity trackers, they are the same in US, in UK, and in Germany. For Chinese people, brand is number three. So 15% are concerned about the brand. They want to see a specific brand. And in South Korea, they are also thinking of ease of use. 16% are concerned about that. So they want to have something simple, which is good to know and don't read a lot of manuals about that. Price was number one. How's the pricing structure looking today? You have in dark blue, well it should be dark blue, the average price per brand in October 14, and then 6 months later the average price per brand in April 15. And we're having on the left side the average price of the smartwatches, on the right side the average price for the fitness trackers. And starting with the smartwatch, Sony is costing about 115 euros on average. Samsung is costing on average 120 euros, and they are the most expensive one, 160. If you compare that to the fitness trackers, Jawbone 65, Fitbit 115, they have increased their price with their new models. So here we have an increasing average price, and then Polar is 17. So there's still a huge price gap between smartwatches and activity trackers, fitness trackers. And if you say, well, number one function of my watch is the fitness tracker, then the big question is, should you spend, let's say, 100 euros more for the watch or not? And this is again the question for the USB and the additional user scenario. That was all about the smartwatch. So to deep dive more into the fitness trackers, what are the most important functionalities people would like to see for their fitness trackers? Well, fitness monitoring is the most important functionality. Then we have health ranking, 31% rank health ranking as number one, and then sleep monitoring or silent alarm, that's not really important at all. So it's really very basic fitness tracking, health monitoring. Purchase influencing factors are also the price. 21% mentioned that the price is very important for them. Compatibility with their smartphones, that's what 20% say. So this is maybe something which is often forgotten. We talk about smartphones which are communicating with your smartphone, but the fitness tracker should be able as well, should be able to communicate with your application, share the devices, or maybe share your own at Facebook, whatever you want to do. The brand for the fitness tracker, only 8% say that the brand is the most influencing factor, so here this is surprisingly low actually. The brands expected we've seen, so here it's the well-known technology brands which are actually expected by consumers but which are not yet as successful in the market. And then also one fact, 73% of all consumers would also be willing to wear these fitness functionality, not only as a band, but also integrated in their clothing. So, men, for example, they are looking forward to connected clothing, like a t-shirt. Women would like to have connected jewelry. American consumers are interested in connected shoes. Chinese consumers are interested in connected belts. And if you look at the age difference, if you're below 30 years old, then you would like to have a connected t-shirt. And if you're above 50, for example, you would prefer a connected belt. So maybe next year when I'm standing here again or wherever, then we'll all be talking about connected t-shirts where we can write messages or whatever. This is again these 42% who stopped working with their fitness device within the first 6 months of using it. The reasons for stopping are, well, the fitness band didn't motivate them as much as they hoped for. You know the problem, you have great intentions, you're going to do a lot, you're going to be very fit and you're losing weight and everything, and after 4 weeks, well, that's how I'm doing it, after 4 weeks I think, well, I'm too lazy. 44% stopped exercising, and 22% say, well, it didn't monitor what I need. So this is a bunch of reasons, and this is of course maybe also a problem, because this is a great trend, but maybe the question is it going to stay within the future? Is it going to be a real market, or is it going to be some kind of hype, which is very successful for a short time, and then it's vanishing again, and nobody's ever talking about it again, as for example the Tamagotchi. So the question for these fitness trackers and also the wearables in general is, at the moment we are talking about these early adopters, but enthusiasts, they want to have it because it's cool, it's new, it's a great innovation. But in order to be successful, you need to get the majority, the early majority, the late majority, and they are interested in affordable technology or even cheap technology, and they are interested in a clear usage scenario. What can I do with this watch? What can I do with a fitness tracker? And only if they have an answer to these questions, they are prepared to buy. And so, well, what could be an additional usage scenario for convincing other consumers is the connection between smartwatch and Internet of Things. So for example, in our study, 49% of all consumers, of all people, were interested in controlling their smart home with their smartwatch, or controlling their car. 47% of all people are interested in controlling their car. So these are additional usages the smartwatch cannot do today. And also some other functionalities which could be interested are over here. Health information, so you can store whatever health information you have. You can use your watch as a public transportation ticket, for example, or you could also use it for wireless payments. It's easy. You take your watch out and put it on the screen, and you don't have to look for your purse, look for your wallet, look for your credit card. And so these new activities, the Internet of Things, all is giving a lot of new potential to smartwatches, and is so maybe helping the consumers to understand better what they can do with a smartwatch, and what great new gadget it can be. About smart home, 76% of the consumers are interested in smart home, but the question Udi has said before also is that 76% are interested, but only 19% are willing to pay, are willing to invest money. So there's a huge gap between interested and reality, but still, if it's coming, coming slowly into the markets, it will be great to use it with a smartwatch. And so in general, the future looks bright for wearables. They are the hardest trends in the industry, even though the consumers have a rather limited understanding today. The applications in the connected home sector are limitless and might help vendors, might help retailers to sell the smartwatch, the wearables better. But you need a good timing, you need a good positioning on the market for your product to be successful, and consumers need to understand the benefits in order to be willing to spend the money. And that's very quick, I think, about the trends in the wearables market. So if you have any questions so far, feel free to ask them now.
There was nothing coming up about battery time, right? It seems...
Yeah.
No. I saw that battery time was seen as only 2 or 3%.
And most of them just last for maybe 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Or something. Which I think is, if it doesn't replace anything, just an additional thing to charge would be an annoying thing, which would make leave it at home.
So battery time is, as you said, very, very small, 2 or 3% maybe.
The other thing is the brand was important, but it was only 8% in deciding the factor.
Yeah. 21%
was the price, but that would be probably contradictory to the most likely success of Apple Watch. It's not, that's going to be the most expensive one, but still probably the number one.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, maybe Apple is usually a different story. So maybe usually you're stingy, but maybe not with Apple.
What I don't see in here is business applications, and the same thing in the Internet of Things. It's only about consumers, where we and our distribution part, it's only B2B. So we would look at home care, the people that deliver healthcare services at home. So registration, for tracking, if your time and attendance, and that's where you have ROI, that where it fits a purpose.
That's something maybe which is coming in future.
It will never be 114 million that we can sell, but I guess we're going to be the rounding error in selling smart devices. In terms of the application, it's much more interesting.
At the moment, the applications are very limited. So, but I think Apple introduced their version 2 of their operating system. Maybe then the opportunities will get broader because you can do more with it. But at the moment, it's really like, what can you do with it? Well, if there's no questions so far, if you're thinking of something, I think I'll be around a little bit, and you can ask me later, and then I will hand over to my colleague, Caroline. She's doing the computer part.
Okay, a warm welcome to all of you. Good afternoon, and my name is Caroline Weinmann. I'm working at GfK headquarters, and I'm basically taking care about the computing categories. What I'm going to focus on today is on computing, form factor evolution, and on mobile usage. Before we're going into reality, I would like to escape reality for a couple of minutes and look into 2020 plus, and also have a short look on a presentation here, which I believe is something that might be realistic for the future. take into the year 2020, eventually 2030 plus. We're now moving back to reality, and I would like to start at this point in time because this is basically what we are currently, and this is also in connecting to the video just and so on. What we're currently seeing is that we're moving from a connected to a super connected world, that more and more people are using multiple devices to basically connect to the internet and digital content. Expressed in a number, it's basically 70% of people accessing the internet globally with more than one device. And this is basically coming from a global perspective, indicating, of course, that people are using the internet or mobile devices not only at home, but they're continuously connected 24/7 from home, work, and also basically in their spare time when it comes to entertainment. In terms of anything they would want to use in terms of digital content or any sort of productivity aspects. If we're putting this in numbers now, and this is based on a study that the GfK nonprofit organization was doing on the one hand side in 2012 and 2014, where we were basically classifying consumers in terms of the usage of digital content, you can see that there are basically four categories we're using. I'm also going to go into more details on what kind of people we're talking about. Super connected, semi-connected, pre-connected, and non-connected. And you can see that from 2012 to 2014, we've seen a significant increase. Basically, in the super connected space, 21% are currently represented in that space. 28% semi-connected, a rather stable share of 30% non-connected, and the majority that was basically losing that pre-connected part, which was going down to 21%. So that is already indicating that we're moving from connected to semi-connected and super connected. If we're now going one step further and we're classifying or characterizing these client types, when we're talking about the 30% non-connected, we're basically talking about users which are using a mobile phone. They're very rarely using the internet, which is characterizing them. They're very domestic, they're very down to earth. They're using, or they're not very tech-affine people. They're showing a rather low consumption of unique products. So something like a wearable would rather be something they would not be purchasing. If we're going one step further and we're looking at the pre-connected part, which is representing 21% of the respondents, these have little enthusiasm about any sort of mobility. They are using mobile phones, they're also partly using smartphones, but the majority of them are still using mobile phones. And when it comes to making calls, 4 out of 10 are using the mobile phone only, and the majority would still use a landline for doing calls. If we're now going to the connected or more connected space, semi-connected, this is 28% of the market. So the majority, when we're talking about tech-affine or more tech-affine clients, they're the clientele which is looking for access or content access anytime, anywhere. They're more and more associated in social networks, so social media is one of the central topics for them. They are also the clientele which would eventually buy network attached storage, for example, because they're they are saving documents or any sort of storage or music in networks, and they're increasingly spending time on the internet with multiple devices. An increasing share, as we've seen, 21% is now the super connected category, which I believe I would also be in. The social media usage is done on various devices. These are also consumers which are very tech-affine, which would rather be early adopters of some categories. They're also in possession of various different things. These would most likely be also the people which are already buying smartwatches, for example, and they're using the internet on various devices also on the go. So what kind of categories are they are working with? As already said, the non-connected part is basically focusing on the mobile phone. If we go into the pre-connected part, they would still prioritize the mobile phone, but also some of them would already have a smartphone. But for internet usage, they would mostly use a stationary PC or laptop. Could also be a tablet, but the majority would still be in the usage of a PC or laptop. If it comes to semi-connected, it's the usage is more and more pushed towards smartphones. This is also where the markets are currently moving. They're using internet on various devices on the go. And if we're talking about super connected, we're going one step further and we're looking beyond smartphones or even tablets. We're talking about internet users, which are also using, for example, smart TV scenarios, which are working on gaming consoles. And if we were to put this very simple in terms of pictures, this is most likely the picture we would get for these type of consumers. There might be some exceptions which are right in between here because a lot of them might have a stationary PC, but the multiple device usage is basically setting in when we're talking about semi-connected and super connected, where consumers are currently moving. How we're bringing this together with computing, if we're looking at the evolution of computing, and some of you might have already seen this, we're basically starting here in the 1970s, and some of you might still remember the Altair, which was basically an assembling kit, positioned at a price point of roughly $500 US back then in terms of purchasing power. We're talking nowadays about roughly 2,000 euros, US dollars. So rather high-priced price points. We were talking about single production mostly. During the evolution of the PC, we've basically been moving from this single production to mass production. We've been moving from stationary PCs to low-weight mobile PCs. This was not the end of the story. If we're just looking at the last couple of months, we have seen numerous different form factors coming into the market, which are ranging from any sort of all-in-one PCs, tablets. We're seeing detachables. We're seeing detachables in all kind of formats, in all types of hinges. We're seeing HDMI sticks. We're seeing convertibles. Categories of form factors are differentiated also by operating systems. So there are a variety of different aspects of form factors that were coming into the market, which was leading to a certain differentiation or diversification of the market, and addressing ultimately also different demand potential. From our understanding, what is currently happening is the market is segmenting and addressing different usage scenarios because consumers have a clear understanding on what kind of device categories they would want to use and would fit the usage scenario. From our understanding, one clear differentiation from consumer side is done in terms of usage behavior, so what kind of activities they would want to do with the computer, which is on the one hand side information consumption or productive usage of a category. And the next step, what from our understanding is very important in differentiating and also positioning these form factors is complexity of the product. So when we're talking about stationary PCs or also mobile PCs with a keyboard, which also have often a complete software or operating system on there, these are basically compensating the limitations in terms of portability a tablet might have, whereas a tablet is basically focused around the ease of usage scenario, around entertainment aspects. And if we're now going one step further, also smartphones that are fulfilling a certain usage dimension or addressing a certain usage dimension, which will allow the product to be placed in parallel to all of these different devices and will favor multi-device usage. If we're now going one step further and we're looking at the computing market in Europe, so we're looking at B2B and B2C, and we're splitting in Europe, Western Europe, CE, CIS. On the bottom you have the media tablets category, which is with a limited operating system, so iOS, Android devices. Computing tablets, we have the convertibles. The dark blue is traditional mainstream notebooks, and here on top we have the desktop computing categories. In the orange color, in the dark orange color, it's traditional desktops, including microdesk laptops. And in the light orange here, all-in-ones. You can see that in Europe, roughly 50% of the market is still done with regular notebooks or desktops. Another 45% is made up by media tablets currently, with a decreasing share, and we see these newer categories, convertibles and also computing tablets, increasingly entering the market. If we're now going one step further, and we're also looking at growth rates here, which is indicating the growth January to April 2015 versus the same period in the last year. You can see that the categories currently outperforming are computing tablets and convertibles, growing by 3 digits still due to the rather low number of volume that are processed in the market, but depending on the region, you still have growth potential, which is split across different categories. For example, if we're looking here at Western Europe, all-in-ones are growing by 4% still, also in the CE region. What we're seeing in the CIS region is, of course, contributed also to the currency effects we currently have and an increasing demand, which is dedicated to entry-level price points, which is resulting in an increasing share from media tablets. We're now going one step further, and we're splitting by channels. We're also looking here at Europe in total, and here we're talking about the B2B SME market, large enterprise market. We're talking about specialists, so IT hardware, IT software specialists, generalists. As Ines already explained, we're talking about retailers with a rather broad assortment, electronic assortment, also beyond electronics, so anything from a MediaMarkt or Euronics, Expert, and so on. And we're splitting out here the retail online part. You can see that these categories, convertible and computing tablets, are growing across all channels currently. If we're talking on a channel perspective, the channels which are currently most challenged are the B2B channels due to the rather higher replacement we've seen in 2014 already, which is leading to a statistical baseline effect now in 2014. And also, of course, new software that will be launched in this year will have some effect here. But if we're looking at the consumer part of the market, you can see that there's still some positive effects in terms of growth for some form factors, for generalists, and also for the online part on, for example, all-in-ones, or also traditional mainstream laptops. Going one step further, and we're now looking from a general perspective, we were combining that view and looking at form factors and generals together. What we're currently seeing in the large enterprise space is that throughout the years 2012 to 2015, we've seen an increasing or decreasing portion going to these traditional form factors, so laptops and desktops. And we are seeing here with 5% computing tablets in 2050 already in place. So 5% of the demand is already made up by computing tablets in large enterprise business. In SMB, the share is comparable low. We have a rather stable share across the last years on laptops and also desktops, which are still leading the demand in B2B. If we're now going one step further and we're looking at the consumer channels, so again, specialists, generalists, and the online part, we can clearly see that with computing tablets, the online channel is currently outperforming in terms of demand that is being generated for this category. For generalists, we have 4%. Also a decreasing share for media tablets, which is indicating a certain saturation level for this category. On the specialist part, we see a slight increase still in terms of share, not in terms of volume, for the large format media tablets with 37%, and a rather stable share here we're seeing here for traditional computing. If we're now going into detail quickly also on computing tablets, media tablets and convertibles, and this is most likely also something you have seen in one of the previous presentations as well. This is basically indicating the product life cycle of a product and indicating here basically from a launch perspective to a certain maturation level, and when the drop is taking place. When we're talking about media tablets, for most of the markets, media tablets have already reached that saturation point, so the growth is currently leveling off. For convertibles and computing tablets, as we've seen, there is still quite a significant growth potential in the market. Computing tablets, due to the fact that the form factor per se is already established in the market, or already beyond that critical phase to actually make it from early adopters to early maturity. Convertibles are somehow still at a point in time where innovators have most likely also already considered that product. We were early adopters are now considering, but the question of these categories, from our understanding, is to push these still beyond the chasm. If we're combining this now with what we have seen before in the connectivity or mobile evolution in Europe, we would position super connected here basically at the innovators, early adopter space, semi-connected when it comes around the chasm, and pre-connected, connected towards the mid to end of a life cycle. Just a very short look also on the channel shares, and I would just like to focus on convertibles and computing tablets. Here in green you have on the one hand side large enterprise business, system houses, SMB, specialistic and generalist, retail online. What is also clearly indicating that these categories are more and more moving towards the early maturity is also the fact that they're moving into generalists, and an increasing generalist share is also, of course, indicating a certain demand that is generating around these products. Convertibles, 37% of the volumes in Europe are done in the generalist channel currently. Rather stable share online. For computing tablets, an increasing share we're seeing here for onliners from 29 to 28%, and also an increase of 34 to 38% for generalists. What is very important, of course, when it comes to all these touch form factors and when it comes to convertibles, of course, as I already said, computing tablets are tablets per se are an established category. It's rather a question of operating system. But when it comes to convertibles, most likely a lot of consumers are requiring a certain touch and feel when they're purchasing these products. And this is, of course, also the channel positioning that we're seeing in the generalist channel, where it's usually around that event concept where product assortment and choice are somehow coming in, and people get that feeling. One very important aspect, and I also want to combine, because we've been looking during the last couple of analyses only at POS volumes, is from our understanding also to get an understanding how much, how many percent of these volumes are actually sourced via distribution. On the left-hand side, we've listed the distribution volumes for media tablets, computing tablets, convertibles, and laptops. On the right-hand side, you're seeing point of sale volumes for the same categories for the last 4 months. If we're looking at convertibles, here we did some bullet points indicating the overall volume that is actually sourced via distribution. For convertibles, we actually have a share of 55% that is currently being sourced via distribution. For computing tablets, it's only 34%. So it's quite critical when we're talking about consumer demand, of course, to get an understanding what consumers are actually purchasing in the market, and also go beyond distribution data and look at point of sale. One next aspect that is of course also relevant when we're talking about sourcing products is to get an understanding not only about the percentage of volumes that are actually flowing via distribution, but also combine this with a certain view on channels. Within our distribution data, of course, we can also segment what kind of channels are being addressed to get an understanding of the product flow, how many percent of the volumes are actually coming via vendors directly to the retail, or how many percent are sourced via distribution. And of course, this will also be critical if we're just looking, for example, this is for media tablets. We're looking at generalists. You can see the actual percentage that is being sourced via distribution is rather limited, whereas if we're looking here at the specialist part, roughly 50% of the volumes are actually sourced via distribution. So a combined view on distribution and POS data is very essential to get a complete glimpse on what is happening in the market. That was everything I wanted to say on computing. Are there any open questions? Any questions you might have? Yes?
Yeah. So based on the slide you have on the screen, what we're saying is if we talk about retail online, that only a small portion flows to a distribution channel,
Right.
and the rest, let's say 95%, is fulfilled by the vendor directly.
Correct. So this is indicating the overall volume that is going to the end customer. This is what the POS is selling, and this is the portion that is going via distribution. So it's less than 10%.
The POS is selling? What do you mean that the POS is selling?
Here, that is the portion basically of distribution.
Yeah.
And this is what the point of sale is selling to the to the end customer. So, for example, this is 100% of what is ending up at the end customer. This is the portion that is going via distribution.
It's going by retail, plus the retail sale.
Yeah, via retail.
Okay, so the vendor is supplying the online retailer directly.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. It's a little surprising.
And this is just for media tablets. So the view could be different, but this is for media tablets, yes. Based on the combination of POS and distribution information we have available.
Media tablets.
So depending on the channel, the distribution sourcing is quite limited, yes.
Media tablets not going in by the telcos.
Yeah.
No, the media tablets it's not going in by the telco.
Yeah, but telco would be covered in the specialist part. Telco is covered here in this section. When we're talking about retail online, we're talking, for example, about a cyberport, we're talking about notebooks billiger, we're talking about any kind of sales that are done online. Yeah. But of course, this could be different because if we're looking at media tablets, the overall sourcing via distribution is at roughly 40%. If we're talking about traditional laptops, so 15-inch notebooks, the sourcing via distribution is around 60%. For computing tablets, it's around 35% across the last month. So 75% are sourced directly.
It's still a growth, but it's slightly negative. That means that the market in the CEE region, which are mostly driven by the Czech Republic, especially in terms of online spending, are settling down currently and are getting mature. So what I already said, home appliances are also catching up, and therefore regarding online spending and the amount of money spent online is basically depending on customer base, which customers you are targeting, which products, as well as which countries you are addressing. And of course, as already said, and as we have seen within the video, also online is coming into the offline stores. So this is a slide Rudi has shown in his presentation tomorrow morning as well. So GfK has done a study what customers are doing with an offline store with their smartphone and mobile phone devices. So 40% of them are checking prices online. 40% also are checking what their friends and families are saying, whether they should buy or they should not buy this particular product. And that means that online as well as offline are like of melting and moving together within the purchase journey of the customers and are more or less creating an augmented shopping reality, combining the benefits of both shopping experiences. And this is basically having an impact, so Caroline has shown this chart as well, on the particular USPs of every channel. So if you're having a look at the reseller, large enterprises, which are located here, from our understanding, the USP of the channel is being a partner, being services, offering services. For small, medium resellers, their channel USP is taking care and servicing really high their customers. Specialists, we have already explained what GfK is understanding by specialist generalists as well as e-commerce. They are all about knowledge. They are enabled to discuss every specification with their particular customers. Generalist is all about event. You have the store-in-store concept, experiencing and exploring products. And for e-commerce, it's all about convenience. You can order whenever and wherever you would like to have this product. And from our understanding, combining an offline channel landscape, which is currently in place, with the online facilities, you are able to reinforce this particular USPs of the channel. Just to give you an example regarding knowledge for the specialists, for example, you have these tech specialists. They are very well informed about media, about their friends, of their peers, what the specification of the particular product are. And they are also informed about these products from getting this information online. And then they can go into the store and discuss with an offline service in the store whether he should buy or not buy this product. So from our understanding, this is really an opportunity to reinforce the current point of sale landscape. So we have already seen this chart. You have had, I guess, EU5 as a basic. So this is Europe in total. All countries we are currently tracking for GfK point of sale and distribution data. And what we can clearly see here, so therefore the percentage is a little bit higher. 51% are sourced via distribution. So, and only 15%, this is roughly a really low part, are sourced via e-tailing. So the basic question coming from this chart is really e-tailing a threat to the channel, or is maybe a threat because distribution is just sourcing every second device of media tablets so this is every second device of the media tablets were just flowing through the regular channel, the traditional supply chain channel landscape, and vendors are kind of leapfrogging distributors in this particular case. So this is the question from our side arising out of this chart. And therefore, summing up this very first e-tailing opportunity, we are thinking that the channel landscape will stay in place for the next decades, and we are also thinking that online, as well as the opportunities online are giving the customers, are enabling the channels to reinforce the USP and to strengthen up again. Okay. Coming to the second part of the e-tailing option, it's basically from vendors to end customers, or as the customers might think, it's directly from vendors. The most important, the most common example in this particular case might be an Apple or a former Dell solution. So in this particular case, the vendors are creating online as well as offline stores, giving the customers the opportunity to include themselves into this product world, to include themselves online as well as offline. But the threat in this particular case is, so therefore we are thinking this is just a niche phenomenon, is that the USPs of the channel are melting and mixing up with this business model, because you have the knowledge base factor, you have the event factor, integrating yourself, exploring, and then you have the convenient factor. Of course it can work, but it's rather hard to do this business model in reality. And therefore, from our understanding, this kind of e-tailing option is just a kind of niche strategy. It's enabling you to offer your brand fans meeting places to discuss about your products, but you really should focus on this option as a niche market, from our understanding. Following up with the last option of retailing is distribution to point of sale, and therefore from our side the question is coming up, is e-tailing really a threat to distribution, or is distribution able to learn what e-tailing is basically offering retailers as well as resellers? Therefore, GfK is doing a study called GfK Supply Chain Navigator. It's done every year across Europe. And from this study, we identified that across Europe, 72% of all the goods were purchased by resellers directly from distributors, so this is still the biggest share. 9% overall in Europe were purchased via e-tailing, and 18% are purchased via vendors. To have a more deeper look by region, so 9% were purchased via e-tailing in the Western European region from resellers, 5% in the Nordics, 8% in the CIS region, as well as 11% in the CEE region. Comparing this, as I already said, with the share which is purchased from vendors, then we can clearly see that, for example, in Western Europe, double the share is purchased directly from vendors. So distributors are not getting anything out of this business. So therefore, from our understanding, we should think about this as an additional business opportunity, for example. But coming back to the reasons and to the thing that point of sales resellers as well as retailers are purchasing from e-tail instead of distributors. This study is also showing a various set why this is the case. So these reasons are basically highlighting why resellers are purchasing from e-tailers. The most important aspect has been pricing, reasonable pricing. And the second most important thing has been single piece orders, as well as a rather fast and available supply and a big assortment. The reasons why resellers are sourcing from distributors is of course because the distributor is kind of a bank and they do have a credit limit in here. Then distributors are also offering a great servicing aspect and kind of digital technical support and order processing. So these are the reasons named by the studies why resellers are purchasing from distributors or e-tailers. We had also a more, sorry, would you like to take note? We have also had a closer look into smaller point of sale resellers as well as retail specialists. So why are they sourcing online? And also these three regions like assortment, single piece order as well as a reasonable pricing are key for them. And why is it so? One thing we think is that resellers as well as retailers are kind of getting lost in this, the big assortment of distributors. They are basically not finding what their customers are demanding, or the distributors have a single gap because the demand of the customers is so diversified and so atomized that they are just not having this into their stores. And the other option, what we are thinking of, is that the order simplicity of e-tailing in some cases is much more simple in comparison to distributors. So summing this up again, we are thinking that e-tailing, instead of purchasing from, using e-tailing instead of purchasing directly from distributors is not an opportunity for e-tailing itself. It's more or less an alternative sourcing strategy for resellers as well as retailers in the market to basically serve the needs of their demanding customers. And therefore, our recommendation would be in this particular case, distributors should have a look in this particular finding, maybe think about the questions whether they would like to open an e-tailing unit by themselves or whether they are able to include these demands of their customers within their business models. And as already said, and what you have seen within the previous charts and also within the presentation from Caroline, there's a really high percentage of direct sourcing from vendors to point of sale, leapfrogging distribution in total. And we think that this is, of course, an additional business model and revenue opportunity for distribution in total. Because for example, in Germany, every second monitor is not sourced via distribution, but directly sourced from the vendors. And this is, of course, half of the business. So maybe this is something you could think of as well. Okay, summing all of these three topics up from our understanding, e-tailing is a business opportunity in total, and on the other hand, it's an additional sourcing opportunity, but at this very point in time, we think that this is not a threat for the currently running supply chains at all. And therefore, for point of sales, so resellers as well as retailers, our conclusion would be that integrating online abilities into their offline stores is enabling them to reinforce the real USPs of their stores, as well as to give them the opportunity to survive within the next decades. And as seen within the figures I have shown, that there is no one-size-fits-it-all strategy. In case of e-tailing, you really need to focus on country as well as category and customers. So what is the customer base you're targeting? In terms of distribution, from our understanding, it's that e-tailing is just an alternative sourcing option, and it's totally up to distributors whether they would like to give e-tailing these possibility to get into their markets, or whether they would like to expand their own business models to take this revenue into their own business. And therefore, we would think, as already said, e-tailing is an opportunity for the markets currently and is an additional sourcing opportunity in the current supply chains. Closing this presentation, we do have a short video from you as well, just to give you some highlights, how markets are changing, how customers will change within the next years, and how this will influence our overall business. any questions, just contact us anytime or raise your questions right now. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.